"Is this the kid that finished your scene?" And she said, "Yes, but she promised she wouldn't ever do that again." And he said, "That's okay. You teach her how to paint. And Martha, when you grow up, I'll give you a job in my cartoon studio." I was so happy and so grateful that, he thanked me, and I thanked him profusely. But that was during the summer of 1932, and the following semester I went to high school, went to Hollywood High, and I forgot all about the cartoons. I was busy with things with the high school activities, and Mr. Schlesinger sold the Pacific title the next year. Thelma didn't do any more painting, and she worked for Larry Glickman, who was the manager of a Pacific title, and he took over the studio. He bought the studio. He was a very nice man. But I didn't hang around there anymore because I was busy with other things. But then when I graduated from Hollywood High, I really didn't have any skills. And I would go downtown every day looking for a job. I found jobs at the May Company on the sales day, and I worked in Woolworth's 5 and 10 for $10 a week, things like that. But I never had a real job. And one day I went downtown to look for a job, didn't find anything, and usually I took the bus back, which took me out to Sunset Boulevard, but I missed the bus and I had to take the streetcar. So I had to walk up several blocks this way. And I was going to my friend Kaz's house, who lived on Van Ness, right across the street from Warner Brothers Studio. And as I got up a few blocks, just before I got to Fernwood and Van Ness, I saw Mr. Schlesinger. He was watching men paint. His name, Leon Schlesinger, producer of Looney Tunes and Merrie Melodies. And all of a sudden I remembered, Mr. Schlesinger promised me a job. And I ran up to him and I said, "Hello, Mr. Schlesinger, do you remember me?" And he looked at me and he says, "No, I can't say that I do." And I said, "I'm Martha Goldman." He says, "You mean that little kid that used to run around our lot in dungarees?" I said, "That was me, but I'm all grown up now and I really need a job." And he said, "Well, we're on vacation now, but you come here about 7:45 on July 13th, and I'll give you a job. We'll see how you do." And that's how I got started. I came back at July 13th. There were 2 other girls waiting to be hired, and we exchanged hellos and that sort of thing. And then Henry Binder came out of the office, and he was the fellow who gave us applications. We filled out applications, and then he took us upstairs and introduced us to Art Goebel, who was the supervisor, and they found a desk for me, and they sat me down between 2 experienced painters, and then Betty Brennan, who was the assistant supervisor, came over and brought a scene to me. All it had was eyes. You might say that was limited animation. They would fit over a blank face, I assume. So she told me, paint here. She sat down and she showed me how to paint, and I did those. I did about 30 eyes, and then I called her over, and she came over and looked at it and said, "That's fine." And then she gave me a scene of 300 cells. It was the caricature of W.C. Fields. We called him W.C. Squeals. And She says, I want you to paint all the white. It's called, the colors marked. Everything would be marked. And so I painted all the white. She says, you show it to me when you're through. I did. I did one color at a time. And I also had help from the one girl who sat to my right, Betty Heilburn. She would give me a few pointers, tell me how to stir the paint and all that. And little by little I learned how to paint. And I've been in the business for 53 years. I also did inking, that's tracing the cells. I did that. And then during World War II I worked in the camera room. And I just continued, then went on and on and on to other studios like MGM and so graphic films. We all considered ourselves migrant workers. We always went to where the work was. As I said, I worked at Leon Schlesinger's Looney Tunes and Merrie Melodies for 7.5 years. And then I went to graphic films. We did training films for the Navy. And after the war, I worked at MGM for many years. And when our children were born, I picked up work. I did freelance. And I worked home for different studios. I would pick up work because I wanted to be home when my boys came home. And I worked that way until they went to college. And when they went to college, then I went back in the studios again. I worked at Celine Miles Ink and Paint for many years. I worked for Kurtz and Friends for many years, and Lisberger, and Filmfare, and many other services, C&D. It was a wonderful career. I loved every minute because I worked with wonderful people. I retired in 1989 and kept up with animation with my friends, and I belong to ASIFA, which is the International Animation Association, and June Foray was one of the founders of ASIFA, and every year they give out a June Foray Award. And in 2003, I was presented with an Annie Award, the June Foray Award, and I'm so proud of it.